Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server and we're having again a look at the new stuff. They updated it once again last night, so it's time to go through everything that has changed. It seems like, at least to me, when it comes to the dev server, we're obviously wrapping up near the end of it. They've added a lot of stuff which usually indicates that the update is getting ready to go, so don't be surprised if we don't see it next week. So let's get started. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get going. The first change is for the AH-64E. This is the new Apache which is coming into the American tech tree, and if you like playing America, you'll be happy to see that they have added the 16 times loadouts for the JAGMs. Before, basically what was happening was you could only take 8 of these, and then you'd probably take Stingers on top of it. But now, for both types of missile, the laser-guided ones and also the IR-guided ones, you can take 16 of them, just like you can the Hellfires. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to the Stingers still take the outer pylons because this vehicle has the IRCM blocks on the side of it, so you're going to have to choose whether you want kind of air-to-air defense or if you want more air-to-ground, but I feel like most people are just going to pick the air-to-ground. So yeah, pretty cool to see. It also now has 90 countermeasures, which I don't think it had before, but I might be wrong about that since I didn't really look. Talking about defensive capabilities, it still doesn't really have them apart from the Moore system, so that is really the only piece that you have. New vehicles have also turned up, and also, I don't know if you've noticed, but the flags are all weirdly stretched right now. I'm sure that will get fixed, but it just looks really weird at the moment. So 2 new vehicles turned up. Mosquitoes. These were in the files, and we had a chat about them yesterday, but one of the funny things is they have grouped them with the other mosquitoes. So now you have 4 mosquitoes in this little group right here for the British. They did say that they were going to add some British Mosquitoes, and here they are. They are different from the other ones that they're adding in, the ones in the Swedish tech tree. Obviously, if you've missed out, they're adding the FB Mark 6 for Norway, then also the F Mark II and the FB Mark 6 ASH. So for Britain, they're adding the NF Mark II. This is the night fighter version of the Mark II. Nothing's really changed on it, apart from it technically should have access to a radar, which you can see here, but at least when it comes to the game, it doesn't actually exist yet. So it's basically just a simple NF Mark II. So it has the 7.7s, it has the 20mm, and it has the Merlin 25s, and also not access to any secondary armaments. The other vehicle is the Mosquito TR Mark 33. This is a anti-shipping Mosquito, so it has access to the AN APS-4 search radar. This is designed to kind of search on the sea, which is pretty fun. And then also, it has access to some 20mm Spana Mark IIs. So you still keep its major armament, you just lose the 7.7s, which I think is generally fine. Because it's an anti-shipping vehicle, it actually has access to a bunch of different secondary armaments. Some of them are not modeled correctly, but you're going to get the idea of what's going to come in. So you have the Uncle Toms, 500s, 250s, you also have the torpedo, and then also some HFARs and SAPs. So pretty similar to everything, apart from you get the torpedo. And yeah, it's mounted slightly wrong right now, but don't worry, I'm sure that will be fixed. So here are the, here are the Mark 12 kind of stats, if you're interested in that. But yeah, so that's really cool to see that we're getting this type of vehicle. Now, talking about changes that kind of distinguish the fact that the update's pretty close, they've changed all of the moving tanks in the hangar and also all the tanks in the background. Now, I use a custom hangar, so you can't really see any of that stuff, but just to let you know that they've done that, they've basically changed them all to like the stuff that's coming out this update, so it shouldn't be really too surprising. Another thing they've also done is they've added 1 loading screen, and this loading screen is the Nelson, and it looks really, really nice. So another loading screen coming to the game. Pretty sure this is coming to everybody. You won't have to buy the Nelson pack for it, but it has turned up. They've slightly changed the F-16s, so the Sufa and then also the F-16C50. They've slightly changed their flight models, so we'll have to see how that actually affects stuff. But obviously, in terms of these types of things, it's kind of hard to follow because they do minor changes here and there, which basically, change specific characteristics when they're flying around. Another thing to also point out, they have added the pilot models now for the Mi-35P, so they now exist, which is really cool. And talking about some other stuff for Russia that has changed, they have changed the good old BUK-M3. So the 9S35M3, this is the 9S18M3, you can see here on the search radar. But if we have a look at the launcher vehicle, which is all the way down here, I feel like they've changed like something about it. But you have like this tracking radar here, then you have the gunner optic, and then of course you have the big old missiles here. But basically what they've done with the 9S35M3 is they've changed its lock pattern and also its transceiver range. Its transceiver range is now 120 kilometers instead of 80, and also they have actually decreased a lot of the lock patterns on it. So basically it's a little bit harder to lock with it, and at the same time the TWS pattern is a little bit harder too. They've also changed the giraffe, the Sky Sabre that you can see here. The giraffe is the radar. Basically, the transceiver range for this one, instead of being 40 kilometers, it is now 120. So therefore, it will be able to see everything from absolutely miles away, which is kind of fun. For Germany, the Tiger 2P has once again been changed. First of all, they've reduced the recoil on the gun by 72%. So basically, when you fired the gun on the dev server, it would literally like bounce up and down, which obviously isn't fantastic, but they have fixed that. The other part of it, which is also happening, is the spore shields can now be hidden when it comes to the general armor profile. So if you want to only look at a specific thing, you can now only look at a specific thing. And the loader's hatch, this is actually quite a large change. So you can see how the top of the turret is 40 millimeters, and also this one, the commander's cupola, is a variable thickness one, but it's mainly like from the top, like 30 or 40 or 50 millimeters. The loader's hatch is now 15 millimeters. So before, this thing was 30 millimeters, and this basically meant that it had way more armor than it did now. And now, only having 15 millimeters, it now opens it up to overpressure, and also opens it up to being hit by CAS and, everything kind of going through. So you've got to be a little bit careful in terms of that, because obviously everything can kind of go wrong. They did the same changes to the Tiger 2, by the way. The Tiger 2H, sorry, in terms of the recoil and also the spore shields, but the loader's kind of turret didn't change. So that's basically there. Another change to the book, they added ESS. They didn't add ESS because it's right here, it's already there. But what they did is they basically added the ability for the vehicle to get ESS. So it's not functional, but it's there at that point. Another thing to also talk about is the Oplot. So we talked about yesterday with its armor. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion around its armor. It's a top-tier vehicle that kind of happens quite a lot in terms of these things. But they added a 30mm HH-RHA plate at the lower corners of the hull composite. So basically what this means is there's just a little bit of extra armor in the bottom here, so basically covering the fuel tanks, which would be nice. They also added a more ERA on the hull and also turret fronts. You can see here that basically what they've done is they've just added a bunch of them on top of each other. And then also the hull front ERA damper plates, instead of being 50mm, are now 30mm. So once again, they're giving it more protection. What's interesting about this ERA is you can see on the front here that the kinetic protection is 140 and the chemical protection is 310. But if you have a look at the sides where they've basically triple mounted it, it's 200 to 600. So basically you have less protection on the front than you do on the sides in terms of the ERA. And yeah, it's basically because they're modeling it as single pieces on the front. So you have like 2 layers of the single piece. And then also on the sides, you have triple layers. So it's just kind of weird how a single piece gives this much protection. But if you add 3 pieces with space between them, it only gives like what? 50, well, about 50% more protection. I don't get how that works. It should actually give way more protection if we're just doing like simple math, right? The max speed has slightly been changed, but nothing too aggressive. They basically changed it by 0.5 of a kilometer an hour, and same with the reverse speed, so nothing's really changed there. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is we actually had a look, and this actually has the worst round at 12.0 now. So basically, the Oplot literally has the weakest round at 12.0. The one which used to be the weakest is the Challenger 2E, I believe. And this one, with its L27, this one actually has 10 millimeters more pen at 60 degrees than the Oplot. So the Oplot, yeah, it straight up has the worst round, which kind of sucks. And also the vertical guidance speed is also pretty rough. Another change to a top tier vehicle or a high tier vehicle is the VT4. They have changed its engine. So before it had 1300 horsepower. Now it only has 1200 horsepower, whereas the VT4A1 has the 1300. So for some reason, this one gets a worse engine. I honestly didn't realize that they changed that. They've also changed a few things when it comes to naval. Most of it comes down to like changing turret angles and stuff like that, and things like the premium ships and the Maryland, and also the Charles F. Adams, basically fixing its kind of way that it, floats about the place, but nothing too crazy. The one that did get changed quite a lot is the the Japanese vehicle. They put its crew up to where it should be. Before it had 15 crew, so now it has 1,336, and also they changed the turret limits too to be a little bit better. The Glaw one, the Galissonier, they also changed the turret setups too, and they did fix the Norway map, where they basically made it so you could render stuff above 100 kilometers, which is kind of fun to see, and added a new control text, which is called Designate a Team Target, which I think is kind of cool. Maybe that'll be for recon drones, or maybe it'll be for something else, where you can basically designate a target for everybody that's about. Another thing is for PlayStation, it looks like they're adding in basically 4K resolution with upscaling and 60 FPS. So maybe the good old PlayStation is getting a big upgrade in terms of that. Another thing to also mention is something you might have noticed in terms of all of the new vehicles. They've added in all of their little kind of stat icons for them. So that is usually a good tell that the update is pretty close, because of the simple fact that they're just getting stuff ready to go now. So pretty much all of them have their new little, profile pictures, and the loading screens are in. As I said, these are usually things which happen when these types of things turn up. They haven't added those new frames yet. They haven't added the new decals, which are in the files, the good old victory marks, at least from what I can tell. But everything else seems to be going pretty well. So see this soon. It looks like it'll probably come out next week, or close to. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.